The angel of the Lord. Who was he really? Imagine this. You're completely alone in the wilderness. No one around you. No army. No family. Nothing but silence. And then, suddenly, you see someone standing in front of you. You know immediately that this isn't an ordinary person. He speaks to you. He knows things about your life that nobody else could know. And then he says something that makes your heart stop. I am the God of your father. Wait, did you just meet an angel? Or did you somehow come face to face with God? This mysterious figure appears throughout the Bible, and he's called the Angel of the Lord. Remember what is written in the book of Exodus 33:22. Any eyes that sees God will die. Subscribe to the Thinker's Lens. For more videos like this, let's continue. But here's what makes his story so fascinating. Sometimes he speaks like an angel. Sometimes he speaks as though he is God. And sometimes the people who encounter him believe they have actually seen God. Now the question is, how will you know he is God when you see him? Someone you have not seen before. Someone you have not seen his photo for once. Someone that you don't know how he looked like. How will you know he is God when you sees him? If you have an answer for this, drop it in the comment section. So, who was the angel of the Lord? Let's go back to one of the earliest encounters, Hagar's encounter. Hagar was a servant in Abraham's household. After a difficult situation, she found herself alone in the wilderness, carrying her young son and wondering what would happen next. And then, the angel of the Lord appeared to her beside a spring of water. He spoke to her about her future and promised that her descendants would become numerous. But something about this encounter is strange. Hagar didn't walk away saying, "I met an angel." Instead, she said that she had seen God. Think about that. Why would Hagar describe an angelic encounter as seeing God? And this isn't the only time it happens. Abraham and the angel. Years later, Abraham experienced another encounter with the angel of the Lord. This time, Abraham was facing one of the most difficult tests of his life. He had been commanded to take his son Isaac and offer him as a sacrifice. Abraham followed the command. But just as he was about to carry it out, a voice called to him from heaven. It was the angel of the Lord. The angel stopped Abraham and told him not to harm Isaac. Then came something remarkable. The angel of the Lord spoke about God's promise to Abraham and his descendants. Again, we have this strange pattern. The figure is called an angel, but he speaks with the authority of God himself. So naturally, you might be thinking, okay, maybe this only happened once. Not even close. Moses and the burning bush. This is probably the most famous example. Moses was in the wilderness taking care of sheep when he noticed something unusual. A bush was on fire, but it wasn't burning up. Moses probably thought, what in the world is going on? So he walked closer. And that's when things became even stranger. Exodus 3 says that the angel of the Lord appeared to Moses in flames of fire from within the bush. But then the passage says that God called to Moses from the bush. God told Moses to remove his sandals because he was standing on holy ground. And then God introduced himself as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So let's pause here. The passage starts with, the angel of the Lord appeared. But then, God speaks. Moses hears God's voice, and Moses realizes he's standing in the presence of something far greater than an ordinary angel. That's where the mystery really begins. Gideon's encounter. Now let's meet Gideon. Gideon wasn't exactly the kind of person you would expect to become a great warrior. Israel was being oppressed by the Midianites, and Gideon was hiding while working. Then the angel of the Lord appeared. And the first thing the angel said was basically, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Gideon must have been thinking, "Mighty warrior? Are you sure you're talking to the right guy?" Gideon didn't see himself as powerful. He felt insignificant. But the angel of the Lord told him that God was with him and that he would help deliver Israel. Eventually, Gideon realized who he believed he had encountered. And he became afraid because he believed he had seen the angel of the Lord face to face. Once again. Angel. God. The lines seem to become blurred. Manoah and the strange visitor. Then there's another fascinating story. Before Samson was born, the angel of the Lord appeared to his mother. He gave her instructions about the child she was going to have. Later, her husband Manoah met the mysterious figure too. Manoah wanted to know his name, and the response was mysterious. "Why do you ask my name? It is beyond understanding." Eventually, the angel of the Lord disappeared in a miraculous way, and Manoah became terrified. He said, "We have seen God." Again, not merely, "We saw an angel," but "We have seen God." So now we have a pattern appearing throughout the Old Testament. Hagar encounters the angel of the Lord and believes she has encountered God. Abraham receives God's covenant through the angel of the Lord. Moses encounters the angel of the Lord, and God speaks from the burning bush. Gideon encounters the angel of the Lord and fears he has seen God. Manoah has a similar reaction. So, who is this mysterious figure? Was the angel of the Lord Jesus? This is where things get really interesting. Many Christians believe the angel of the Lord was actually Jesus appearing before his birth. They call these appearances Christophanies, appearances of Christ before his incarnation. And when you look at some of these passages, you can understand why people reach that conclusion. The figure appears in human history. He speaks with God's authority. He represents God's presence. And people sometimes respond to him as though they have encountered God himself. But there's an important point we shouldn't ignore. The Bible never simply says, "The angel of the Lord was Jesus." So we shouldn't present that interpretation as an unquestionable fact. Other biblical scholars understand the angel of the Lord as a unique messenger who represents God so completely that he speaks with God's authority. And that's what makes this subject so fascinating. There isn't a single sentence that solves the entire mystery. Instead, we're left comparing the passages and asking questions. But why would God send an angel? Maybe that's the bigger question. Why does this figure appear at these particular moments? Look at the people involved. Hagar was alone. Abraham was facing an impossible test. Moses was living quietly in the wilderness. Gideon was afraid and hiding. Manoah's family was waiting for the birth of a child who would change Israel's story. And each time, the appearance brings a message. You're not forgotten. There's a purpose. God sees you. God is still working. And perhaps that's one of the most powerful parts of these stories. The angel of the Lord doesn't appear randomly. He appears when people's lives are about to change. The final mystery. So, who was the angel of the Lord? Was he simply an angel? Was he a unique messenger who carried God's authority? Or was he, as many Christians believe, Jesus appearing before his birth? We may never be able to settle that question with one verse. But the mystery itself is what makes these stories so powerful. Because every time this mysterious figure appears, something happens. A woman in the wilderness receives hope. A father learns that his faith has been seen. A shepherd becomes a leader. A frightened man becomes a warrior. And a family receives a promise about a child who will change history. So maybe the most important question isn't simply, who was the angel of the Lord? Maybe it's this: why did God choose to reveal himself in such mysterious ways? And perhaps that's why this figure has fascinated Bible readers for thousands of years. Because somewhere between angel and God, messenger and presence, mystery and revelation, the Bible gives us a glimpse of something we may never completely understand. And that's the mystery of the angel of the Lord. This is the Thinker's Lens, where we break down every mystery